Cup.
Nothing is enough for Collingwood. Centennial Cup champions in 2024.
This is the OJ All Access Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm Alex Mashivansky, and it is a great show that we've got for you today. Now, of course, a lot of the league is currently in Smiths Falls for the CCHL, OJHL Battle of Ontario, but we've managed to snag some pretty awesome guests today. We will have Mike Tarantino, General Manager of the defending Centennial Cup champion Collingwood Blues, who are in the hunt for their third consecutive Buckland Cup title and currently sit second in the Western Conference. Also joining me will be one of the most talked about and exciting young players in the league this season, Jonathan Kapageridis of the Cobourg Cougars, who was a second overall pick of the Sarnia Sting in last April's under-18 draft and was recently named as a player to watch for June's NHL draft. Yeah, and here he is now, the high-flying rookie defenseman from the Cobourg Cougars, Jonathan Kapageridis. Jonathan, thanks for taking the time to be on the show.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've watched some of your awesome performances so far this year. It's been a pleasure to watch. Unfortunately, we should point out you're not joining us from Smiths Falls, where you're supposed to be for the OJHL CCHL Battle of Ontario that's going on right now. You were named to the prospects roster. You haven't played this since October 28th. What happened? Just fill in everybody on what happened and when you expect to be back.
Yeah, no, I'm just right now been dealing with a bit of a lower body injury. I was actually supposed to be back last week, and I was practicing and all that, but I think just taking a bit of extra time here, but I'm expected to be back pretty soon here and just on a good track to recovery here. So,
yeah, up until that point, you were having just an outstanding rookie season, 20 points in just 18 games. How do you feel about the way you've performed so far in what is your first OJHL full season?
Yeah, it was a bit different from last year playoffs. I mean, coming into the season, went back with Cobourg, kind of a familiar spot for me there, and I knew some of the people there, but yeah, no, I think coming into the league full time now it's been another bit of an adjustment, but I think I've done pretty well with that, and just kind of getting that confidence within me to kind of make plays and carry the puck more and be an offensive defenseman.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, last season, as you mentioned, you played most of the season with the Don Mills Flyers in the GTHL. You got 3 regular season games in with the Cougars when they called you up for that. But it was in the playoffs where you really started turning some heads. 14 points in 17 games, which is crazy when you think about it, that you get put into this lineup, a veteran-laden lineup, a really strong team last year. And you helped lead them to the conference finals last season. So first question about that, how did you find the transition to junior A hockey? Because you clearly really found your stride in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, coming from U18, I think that's the year I kind of started building up my confidence a bit more. And I had that connection there with my assistant coach, who also coached in Cobourg. And I played the last regular season game against North York, and that was a bit of a taste of it. But then going into playoffs, that was a whole nother level for me. It's probably the highest level of hockey I've played there, and just the pace of the game was just so much faster. I mean, but also playing with better players helped me out a lot, and obviously we had some great players there, and just starting off with kind of making 1 or 2 plays, and then slowly over the course of the playoffs, I kind of found my stride more and just built more confidence. And the coaches gave me a great opportunity there as well. But yeah, I think the jump was pretty big the first couple of games for me there, but then it got better over the course of the playoffs.
That says a lot, though. The fact that the coaches were throwing you in that much in a playoff environment as a 16-year-old. I mean, showing a lot of confidence in you. Obviously, did it surprise you how impactful you were able to be in the playoffs after having only played 3 regular season games with the Cougars?
Yeah, honestly, it did surprise me a bit. I didn't expect to even play that much for that matter, but I think like playing with guys like Hoskin, he was unbelievable there, and just over the course of the playoffs, picking up habits from him as well, and just building off my game off of that, and but yeah, I was definitely a pretty unreal experience there, but
yeah. Clearly, it impressed the Sarnia Sting, who made you the 2nd overall pick in the under-18 OHL draft. You still haven't committed to the Sting. This is sort of a two-parter, so we'll get to both aspects of this. But originally, was that to keep your NCAA options open? Is that why you didn't commit to the Sting? Because you did go to the training camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
Right.
Yeah. The rule hadn't changed yet. Yeah, the rule hadn't changed yet. So yeah, I was trying to keep both options open there. I went to training camp, had a great time there, but I mean for me, like being a late bloomer and going in the U18 draft, my mind after that year was kind of set a bit more on it, like leaning towards NCAA a bit more. So yeah, that's probably why.
So you just announced that you've committed. So this has paid off for you clearly. It would have paid off both ways, obviously, because now you can do both. You can go CHL as well. But congratulations, because you just announced it yesterday. But in case anyone hasn't heard, tell us about it, please. Where are you going?
Yeah, I've decided to commit to University of Vermont.
And why did you choose Vermont?
I just think I went down for a visit there, and I mean, right when I got there, just the coaching staff and the way they are as people and the way they like to play hockey, I think just my play style fits into that system pretty well. And I mean, yeah, like after the visit there, for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. But yeah, I think that's kind of why just my play style and the coaching staff.
Yeah, and it's great to have you on, because we've talked a lot about this over the past couple of weeks now, since this new NCAA rule came in, where you can now play major junior and play NCAA hockey. You're a lucky guy. You're in this the very first year of this actually going into effect. As of August 1st, it goes into effect. So the second part of the question is, then now you've committed NCAA. Are you going to take full advantage of this? And are you also going to commit to play for the Sarnia Sting before you head down south?
Yeah, I mean there has been talks of that between us, but for right now, we're trying to just focus on Cobourg right now, and
right.
Yeah, just kind of developing here, but no, it's definitely something we're open to, and now that I've been talking to Vermont more, we'll see what happens with that side of things, but it's all still pretty new, so we're not too sure yet with that.
Even if you had committed to the Sting, I think, you talk about yourself as a late bloomer as well. Are you glad that you had the OJHL option to be able to develop your game like this and get this much ice time as a 17-year-old?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Who are some of the players that you looked up to growing up, who maybe you even patterned your game after? Because you mentioned you're fast skating, you're a puck-moving defenseman, high offensive output. Who are some of the guys that you looked up to growing up?
Yeah, I think, well, for me recently especially, like I love watching guys like Quinn Hughes and Adam Fox. Quinn Hughes, he's a great skater. And just watching him and how he moves the puck, I admire that so much in his game. And for me, I like to kind of have a nice first pass out of the zone. So
yep.
Like watching him make plays and his skating abilities is unreal. And then Adam Fox is just I mean, he's such a shifty guy. The way he moves, I mean, it's really hard to hit him.
Yeah.
And so I think like those two guys for me right now are, I mean, they're super fun to watch, but also obviously like physicality is something I want to work on, which they are small. They're small guys, so
Yep.
and I'm a bit smaller. I'm not a huge guy, but yeah, that's. I think.
What are you listed at? Are you 175, 6 feet tall, 175? Is that roughly about it?
About that, yeah.
About that. So
it
you know what?
It was like 5'11" and a half or
5'11" and a half. So we'll stretch it to 6, right? So listen, it'll come. You got to get in that weight room, right? Obviously, but you know what? Whether it's the Sting first, but definitely Vermont as well, they'll have you working on that. But I'm sure the guys in Cobourg, great program there. They probably got you working on it as well, so it'll catch up. But one more question for you before I let you go. Recently, of course, you were named as a player to watch for next June's NHL draft. Huge, honor to have that happen. What's this been like for you? Has this added any pressure? Do you feel any more pressure when you head out on the ice and play games now? No, I mean, you must have known that there were scouts out watching you anyway, but is there any added pressure now that you've been named to the list?
Honestly, I don't think so for me. I think just maybe a bit of nerves before the game, but right once I step on the ice, I think everything just kind of zones out and I'm just completely focused on the ice and what I have to get done. So I don't think it's necessarily pressure, but at the same time, I think a bit of nerves are good to have when you're on the ice. But no, like in the past few months and coming from playoffs last year has obviously been a lot more, I guess there's been a lot of people watching Cobourg with the playoffs there, but no, I don't think there's any added pressure necessarily.
Well, and of course, a lot of those scouts last year out to watch, a guy like Hoskin who ended up getting drafted, and then they come across a 16-year-old kid who just got called up from the GTHL, and you got to watch what you were doing in the playoffs last year. They got a sneak peek last year of what you're doing this year, and you're having a great season. Jonathan, all the best. Continued success as you go along this season. Hopefully a speedy recovery, almost done from the dreaded lower body injury. I still love the classification. They've been doing this for years now, and it's the lower body injury. But honestly, get back on the ice soon, man. We're looking forward to having you out there, and just continued success. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, what a season Jonathan is having to do what he did in the playoffs last season, getting called up as a 16-year-old and stepping right into that veteran-heavy lineup and performing the way he did was really incredible. Speaking of incredible, great segue there. It's doubtful you missed it, but just in case you did, this happened on the weekend.
Every single night, despite if it's a win, loss, or tie. Now it's New Love with an empty net. Tries a goal. He scores. He gets it. Michael New Love gets the goalie goal! Oh my goodness! And they're showing him some love! Michael New Love! The goalie goal! Caps it off for Georgetown! Oh my goodness! Show him the love! Michael New Love! Goalie goal 5-2 Georgetown!
Alan Corkum with the call there. Michael Newlove, another player who was listed as a player to watch by NHL Central Scouting for next year's draft with the goalie goal. And that makes, by my count, 3 in the OJHL over the past 2 seasons. Way to go, Michael. Also, over the past few days, Colton Smith of the Leamington Flyers, who's leading the OJHL in scoring this year, he made history by becoming the first OJHLer with major junior experience to sign with an NCAA Division I school. He'll begin playing with the Clarkson Golden Knights next fall. This, of course, follows the new NCAA regulations that will allow CHL players to join Division I schools. Colton played 3 seasons in the OHL before coming to Leamington this season. Congratulations, Colton. He's likely the first of many to come. And a quick look at the CJHL national rankings. Leamington sits at number 3. They are the top OJ team right now. The Golden Hawks come in at number 5. The Collingwood Blues are in the 13th spot, while the Junior Canadians earn themselves an honorable mention. Yeah, and I'm so pleased to be joined now by the general manager of the defending Centennial Cup champions, the Collingwood Blues. Mike, great to see you again, buddy. How are things?
Good there, Alex. Same old, I guess. A little bit of Groundhog Day, busy with the family, kids, and obviously the hockey team.
Busy. But even after all these months, it must be great still to hear that defending champions, Centennial Cup champions, Collingwood Blues. After making it to the Centennial Cup the year before in Portage, coming close, you guys were laser focused last season on getting back to the big dance once again, especially with it being held in Oakville, just a stone's throw away from Collingwood, relatively speaking, compared to a lot of Canadian junior A hockey. But you guys were laser focused on winning it all last season, making it back. You did that. Tell us a bit about last year and what it was like.
Well, yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. I mean, we had a lot of returning players, all that whole 2003 group, from Pack to Hudon to Younger, Cookie, Mac, Roddy. I'm missing a couple here now, and I'm going to feel bad about it in a moment. But they kind of got a taste of it, and people say something about experience and how that matters. You kind of learn from your losses, right? At least I think we believe that. So the year when they believed they had another chance at it, they were focused from beginning to end. They knew it wasn't going to be easy, but they knew what it took to get there, and obviously they had an idea of what it would take to win it.
How did it feel, man? Like it's the first time you chatted since then. It's got to be good.
It's a little. Yeah. It's a little surreal. It's a little, you're proud. Ultimately, honestly, I'm happy for the players. The coaches did a great job. Andrew Campoli, Connor Cataract, Nick Rika did an excellent job. I'm happy for the town, the Billet families, ownership, Dave and Christina, our executive, who put a lot of time into it. There's a lot of people involved in the program up in Collingwood, and I don't think anything gets I don't think that happens without the amount of people doing their part to kind of help make the program successful.
And an interesting connection too, because you win it on the home ice of the Oakville Blades, an organization that you were so closely tied with for a long time. I can't remember. Are you living in Oakville?
No, I live in Burlington, but teach high school
right next door.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I played my junior hockey in Oakville, and
of course
grew up in Oakville. So, and Jordan and I both had big ties there, right? So, I mean, it's again, it's maybe a little bit more special for us, but you could say the same thing about Callum Chow and Noah Pack, right? Two Oakville boys we had on the team, and they've played a lot of games at that rink throughout growing up in minor hockey. So. It does add some familiarity. Well, I struggled with that one. But anyway, it does that. And sure, I guess it's a little nice to have friends and family who are able to attend because of the location. But ultimately, it's kind of about the group and, again, excited. It was an exciting time.
You mentioned a lot of the big names from last year's team. Some of these guys, quite a few of them graduated last year. Hudon, Spencer Young, McIntosh, Noah Pack, of course, who we'll get to in just a moment. But you guys have just kept right on rolling this season. You're second place in the West right now. What's your take on the makeup of the team this year and their performance so far?
We're happy where we're at. I think there was a little bit of pressure, just innate pressure from ourselves and expectations maybe we put on ourselves to kind of just come out of the gate and just kind of keep going. But as you mentioned, there's some good hockey players we lost there, right? Like it's extremely difficult to replace a Noah Pack. Hudon and Spencer Young, at least in my mind, were the best 1-2 center combination in Canada. So we've had a lot of new players come in. We've had some guys who are returning that maybe didn't take on a huge role last year, maybe more of a supporting role, who have stepped up. And this year, honestly, we've actually had to battle some injuries. We haven't had to do that in the last couple of years. We've been relatively healthy. We've had some guys go down in preseason, go down at the showcase for extended time. So some younger guys got to, learn and cut their teeth a little bit. And we hope that'll pay dividends down the road. We've had some tough games against some top teams in this league. And, we've won a couple, we've lost a couple, but, it's all back to that learning experience. But, we definitely respect everybody in our conference. I think our conference is exceptionally close this year.
Really good,
But at the same time, we believe if we can stay healthy and play our game, we like our chances.
So we talked about Pac briefly there, and of course he was just so incredible for the Blues for the past couple seasons. CJHL goaltender of the year last year, obviously Centennial Cup champion. So he departs for Yale University for this season, and in comes another Noah Tegelar, who was the NOJHL Rookie of the Year last year. So he comes south. He's a player to watch, listed as a player to watch for next year's NHL draft. He had big shoes to fill. It's, goes without saying. And he's really come through big time for you guys, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been exceptional. I mean, I would think it probably took him about a week to kind of get accustomed to the program and settle in and everything like that. But, he's been excellent. Completely different goalie than Pac was. But, at least recently, arguably just as good in what he's done in the last month here, in the last 10 games. I mean, he's given us a chance to win every time he's been in the net. Some timely saves. He's a big kid and moves exceptionally well. A good kid, very respectful, works hard. I can't say enough positive things about what he's done since he's kind of settled in with us.
Also, as a spinoff of that, it's, being a guy who's eligible for the draft and is getting so much attention, really good for some other guys on the team too, having that many scouts in the stands, eyeballs on all the players, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, right? I mean, I also think, like I said, I think the league as a whole, you have players on multiple teams who are going to get big looks, right? Like, Milton's got the Cali kid who's a very good 08. Kapageridis just committed, and like there's a bunch of guys. I can list a kid or two off every team, but in saying that, yeah, no question. And at the same time, we kind of want that pressure, right? The kids want that opportunity to showcase and to perform in front of NHL scouts, NCAA scouts, and now OHL scouts, because they have that eligibility now to do both.
We're getting sidetracked for 1 second here, but you did mention Kapageridis, and I just had him on the show. Have you had a chance to go up against him yet? I can't remember.
We did. We played him.
What did you think about him?
Oh, he's good. He's a smooth skating, very cerebral defenseman. Again, younger player. As he gets more experience, gets more strength, he'll develop into even better version of what he is now. But very good hockey player.
Yeah, top two scorers on the squad this season for the Blues. Both grew up in Collingwood, by the way, which I love to see. Hometown boys, Damon Boos and Marcus Lahid. Boos, 30 points in 23 games, top scorer on your team. The only guy in the top 20 of league scoring, actually, and he's tied for 20th, as a matter of fact. But you've really gotten balanced scoring throughout your lineup over the past few seasons in Collingwood. That's kind of been a hallmark of the team. You and I have actually chatted about this before, how you've loved having not just one guy who's so far ahead of everyone else, but the guy's pretty bunched up in terms of who are the top offensive performers. So this is just kind of following the way things have been the last few seasons in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I really do believe you need depth throughout your lineup to be successful, especially after a long season, 4 rounds of playoffs. And, at some point there was a Dudley Hewitt there, but, the Centennial Cup as well. So when you need the right kids, because obviously playing on a team where you have a little bit deeper up front, some of the minutes got to be a little bit more shared, right? So, but I do believe it is a hallmark of any success, because you're going to have some bumps along the road. Some guys are going to get banged up. A perfect example of that, unfortunately, was Daniel Markovich last year, right, who got hurt in his last game. And he was a big piece, right? And honestly, going in the playoffs, he was excellent. And so we didn't have him, and we had to kind of adjust, and Andrew had to kind of go on the fly and tweak the lines a little bit, which opened up a door down the road, actually, to AP, Ethan Ficina. So you need depth throughout the lineup. I think any team will tell you, it's you can't expect one line to kind of carry you for an entire season. I just think that's unfair to put that much pressure on a group of kids, but also a little bit unrealistic. So, it's worked out that way. It doesn't mean that we want to, trust me, if we can take, the 6 top scorers in the league, we'll have them. That's great. But you need that depth to kind of push you through, we believe.
For sure. So you guys are aiming for your 3rd straight Buckland and to repeat as Centennial Cup champions. You've set such a high bar there in Collingwood over the last few seasons. So my question is, now that you've achieved the absolute pinnacle of accomplishments in Canadian junior A hockey, winning the national title last year, is anything but a Centennial viewed as a disappointment this season?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think you're hungry to get back there, and I know the players that returned are again taking on bigger roles this year, so they're a little hungrier to lead us back there if we can get there. And the new guys kind of want a taste of it, right? So, but to say anything, there's only one team who wins that. So to say that anything less than that is a disappointment, I think would be unfair. Ultimately, we want to do the best we feel we can do. If we play, there is an element of luck in hockey, right? Just like all sports. You can prepare and all that, and you get a bad bounce, or again, you can have a kid come down, or you run into a hot goalie, or even maybe a bad ref call that you didn't agree with, right? Like, so there is an element of luck on that. What we'd like to do is get better every day. We feel like we're doing that. The team is, and then we'll kind of see where the chips fall, right? This year, it's a little bit different. I think last year we were probably favored to win. I don't think we are this year. I think we're in the mix. I think people would tell you we're in the mix, but I don't think anybody's saying that we're the favorite. So there's I don't know if that's maybe a little less pressure from outsiders, but at the same time, I know within our organization, there's still that internal pressure to do.
Still ranked as one of the top 20 teams, I believe, pretty much all year in the CJHL. But you're right, the bounces have got to go your way, and just because you're the most talented team doesn't always mean you're going to win it. Just last year, like, you guys were jockeying with Flin Flon for much of the year for that number 1 ranking. They were a powerhouse team. Last season, they got knocked out in, I guess it was the final they made it to, and then
I think Melford knocked them out, right? And
Melford knocked them out, and then you guys played Melford in the final. 2016-17, when Cobourg won it, that Brooks team, a lot of people consider that to be one of the best junior A teams that Canada had seen for quite some time. Cobourg goes and knocks them out in the Centennial Cup final on home ice. So, you got to get on a roll. You got to get the right bounces, like you're saying. So it's a long season and anything can happen, right? Before I let you go, one more question. And Marty and I had a chance, Marty Savoy, the commissioner, to those watching, of course, had a chance to talk about this a bit more in depth last week. I want to get your take on it, though, about the new NCAA vote that they had a couple weeks ago that now allows CHL players into Division I hockey. You're a guy that didn't go the CHL route. You went down and had a tremendous NCAA career. But I want to get your take on this, Mike, how you think this is going to be for the players and how you think it's going to affect the OJHL in terms of player recruiting and all that.
Yeah, that's a long-winded question, but sorry, I shouldn't say that. You're going to get long-winded.
I had a lot on my mind, man. Sorry.
Yeah, back when I back 20 years ago or 25 years ago, players, even down in the NCAA, they didn't have those rights where they were getting paid. Like, there's football guys and hockey guys and all this stuff that are getting image and likeness money now that never existed back then. So it was only a matter of time before major junior or the CHL was allowed to go to the NCAA. Ultimately, I'm a fan of it because of the fact that it's the best thing for the players. there's probably been a ton of players in the past who had to make that choice at 16 years old. And that's ultimately a big life choice to have to make. So, that's the first thing. Ultimately, I'm for it because I think it's the best thing for the players. Secondly, I think it's going to make the OHL a very strong league. Now, the OHL will not lose anybody to the NCAA, which they have had in the past. In fact, you're going to start seeing some good American players start coming up as well, in my opinion, kind of following Patrick Kane's footsteps in that there, where the OHL is going to be really good. Now, how that affects our league, I think it's going to make our league better because the OHL is going to be so strong. There's going to be players who arguably could play in the OHL that are going to need a year of tier 2 within the OJHL before they make that step. I think it's going to enable or force, and I don't say force, that sounds not the right word, but it's going to have OJHL teams work a lot closer with OHL teams. Something that, I've already spoken to a few OHL teams about how we can kind of work together. But ultimately, there will be a little bit of growing pains, right? Because we're used to having our players for 56 games and not APing up and down. I should say that most of the time, most players, there's always the exceptions. Now, I do think there's going to be more of an affiliate program where we're going up and down. And, it's going to be, there's going to be a little bit of growing pains here in the sense of making sure this works out best for the player, best for the OHL team, best for the OJHL team. And, that's really waiting to see how that all kind of shakes out. The NCAA is going to have, there's going to be a change with them too in terms of how they recruit, right? So, you just saw Colton Smith commit Division I there, right? And
yeah,
right. No, it's great for him and great for the league. So there are going to be 04s because the OHL is capped on 3 04s. That's interesting. The other thing that people are forgetting to mention is the eligibility only works from the major junior if they haven't signed an NHL deal. There's a lot of good 19, 20-year-olds in the O who have signed, right? So those kids are still ineligible. So if you have a couple of those kids there, but a lot of this is going to be kind of straightened out in the next CBA agreement between the NHL, and it's going to kind of trickle down into us there. So, those are my guesses, I guess you would say. But I do think, I think you're going to have players touch through OJHL programs who then are getting drafted. Before you used to have APs, right? Or the odd kid that would get drafted, like Marner was an AP with St. Mike's and stuff like that and played the playoffs. And, we've had some guys that get drafted later rounds. But I do think you might have kids now play a year and then move on to the OHL and be a second-round pick, right? Be a first-round pick. Like, that wouldn't surprise me.
So come for like seasoning as a 16-year-old in the OJ.
Yeah.
And then play like the London Knights have done that for quite some time with the GOJ.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of guys playing locally, or like with the London Nationals and stuff in the GOJHL. But you're saying you think the OJHL is going to get a lot more guys, or possibly who play the 16-year-old to get seasoning, like Gavin Betts is doing this year.
Yeah, that's a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
Carter George did it too with down on the Gauge as well with Owen Sound, right? Like there are 16-year-olds that are willing and able to jump in the OHL and get big minutes, but a lot of those kids are still kids. So if they're not going to get those minutes, maybe they're getting those minutes in our league and then before moving on. Again, I can just simply use Ryder Cali this year, right? You look at the minutes he's getting in Milton and what he's doing. If he decides to go to the Sioux next year, that's he, like, how do you say he's not prepared, right? He's getting a ton of time and he's getting better. And when we played him, he was very good. So
he's already got a Harvard commitment.
He's already got the Harvard thing, right? So now he doesn't have to choose between the OHL and Harvard, and like that's it's Harvard,
Yeah.
So it's interesting. What I answered there is just the way my take. Doesn't mean it's going to end up that way, but
I think he echoed a lot of what sort of Marty and I talked about, and what I've talked to a few other OJ coaches like off air, and similar opinions. But I think we're going to see a massive influx of talent into this league who are going to be star CHLers that maybe there wasn't before, and quality CHLers who all of a sudden find out that they can't get a roster spot anymore because there's so much elite talent now being pushed into the OHL.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you're going to see kids start coming back home too, right? Like with the same thing just happened with us with Hudson Wiles.
Yep.
Who decided
from BCHL, right?
Home. Yeah, he was in Chilliwack, which is a good program out there. Decided to come back home. Thought it was the best thing for him. Yep. Will play for us, and then he'll be on Owen Sound next year. Yeah, right. Like that's just it. So it's definitely interesting how it's all going to shake out. There'll be some growing pains. There'll be some figuring things out. But at the same time, ultimately, it's the best for the players. And I do think that there might be this preconception that, you have to play in the CHL to get a deal now, which I don't think that's going to be a case. Sure, some of the deals will come from there for sure, but you're seeing how it, with Colt Smith, how it worked out. And, we think we got a couple good 04s on our team that are talking to schools, and, right. So we're hoping they get deals as well. So, again, it's a little bit figuring it out, but going
to have to hit those books though still. I mean, a lot of people assume that 100% of CHLers are going to make the NCAA, but you've got to keep up on your studies. Maybe even some guys who weren't doing it as much before, they've got extra incentive to do it now. So it's going to be interesting. You and I spend as much time talking about this topic as we have about the Blues.
Yeah, that's all right. This is a big topic.
It's a fascinating topic. It's the biggest story in junior hockey and junior hockey overall right now. And like I asked Marty last week, and I said, do you think this is the most seismic shift, at least in his tenure, since 2009? And he said, without question. It's just massive, So, listen, man, always great talking to you. You, Andrew, Ryan, Justin, owner Dave Steele has been such a great owner. You guys have done just such a fantastic job in Collingwood, and you've really, really involved yourself in the community too. You guys are the town's team. You truly are. And, you see it in the way fans come out to the games and stuff. Anyway, I could go on and on. But you guys have done a great job up there. Congratulations once again on the Centennial Cup, buddy. And we'll do this again soon.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's all the time we've got for this week. Thanks so much to Jonathan Kapageridis and Mike Tarantino for joining me today. Some really great discussions, and it just seems to get better every single week on the show. Just remember, you can stay up to date with everything that's going on in the OJ by checking out the league's official social media outlets. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next week.